Greetings, fellow time travelers. Welcome back to Secrets of the Ancients, where we uncover the hidden mysteries of lost civilizations and dive deep into the secrets that shaped our world. I'm your archaeological guide, ready to take you on another mind-bending journey through the controversies de Gouder Belkbronner Tursens, Unpanam, Wintidredam Pommersti am. Today's discovery will challenge everything you thought you knew about one of ancient Egypt's most iconic treasures. We're about to reveal an archaeological scandal that has been whispered about in museum corridors for decades, but never publicly acknowledged. Before we unveil these incredible secrets, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what we're about to uncover. Picture this scene with me. It's October 16, 2009, in the heart of Berlin, Germany. The newly renovated Neues Museum is about to reopen its doors after 20 years of restoration. Inside, waiting to dazzle millions of visitors, sits one of the most beautiful artifacts ever discovered: the limestone bust of Queen Nefertiti. For over a century, this masterpiece has been called the Mona Lisa of ancient Egypt, a symbol of timeless beauty carved over 3,300 years ago. But here's where our story takes an absolutely shocking turn. Just as celebrations were reaching their peak, devastating news broke from Geneva that would send shockwaves through the archaeological world. A Swiss historian named Henri Stierlin made a bold claim after 20 years of investigation. Listen carefully to his exact words. "I have no doubt in my mind that this is a fake, a copy, a forgery, or a model. But the puzzling question is, could one of the world's most famous Egyptian artifacts really be a modern forgery? What we'll discover today will blow your mind." Now, let's travel back over 3,000 years to ancient Egypt, to the lost city of Amarna in the heart of the Egyptian desert. This is where one of history's most fascinating couples lived: Pharaoh Akhenaten and his beautiful queen, Nefertiti. Nefertiti remains one of the greatest mysteries in pharaonic Egyptian history. Archaeologists have spent generations examining every monument, every hieroglyph carved on temple walls, desperately searching for evidence of her existence. Yet, incredibly, almost nothing is known about her origins. What we do know is absolutely captivating. Nefertiti was most likely Egyptian, and certainly the primary wife of the 18th dynasty pharaoh, the revolutionary Akhenaten. But here's what makes this story truly remarkable. For the first time in 3,000 years of Egyptian history, royal art depicted something unprecedented: genuine affection between rulers. Nefertiti and Akhenaten were shown as teenagers, ruling an empire while holding hands. They've been portrayed on the royal chariot, with Akhenaten kissing Nefertiti. The queen is shown placing a necklace around the king's neck while he gives her a kiss on the cheek. These incredibly intimate moments must reflect a true love story that defied royal tradition. This wasn't just political marriage. This was romance. Thanks to her revolutionary husband Akhenaten, this heretic pharaoh who changed Egyptian religion forever, Nefertiti's name has survived through the ages. Akhenaten entered history because he imposed Aten, the sun god, as the only deity, abandoning Egypt's many traditional gods that had been worshipped for thousands of years. During his reign, Akhenaten built new temples, many of them open to the sky to allow the beneficial rays of the sun to shine through. In his radical new religion, he developed a personality cult where he and the sun god gradually became one and the same. In their 7th year of rule, Akhenaten and Nefertiti moved from Karnak and established themselves at el-Amarna in the middle of the desert. There they built a new royal city called Akhenaten, meaning horizon of the sun. This famous couple created a modern metropolis built quickly to accommodate 50,000 inhabitants, a city filled with roofless temples, where they spent their time worshipping under the open sky. But here's the tragic part. The reign of Akhenaten and Nefertiti lasted only 17 years. After their deaths, their successors would systematically destroy every trace of their existence, dismantling the palaces brick by brick. In less than 30 years, this magnificent city would disappear, swallowed by the desert sands. You could call it the Pompeii of the sands. Now, fellow explorers, let's fast forward to December 6, 1912. In this rectangular desert area, the complete bust of Nefertiti emerged from beneath the sand, discovered by German archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt. Ludwig Borchardt was born in Berlin in 1863 and became the most famous archaeologist of his era. Fascinated by Egypt, its monuments and architecture, he organized excavations in the remains of Akhenaten's ghost city, starting in 1906. But here's what will absolutely amaze you. Before the Germans arrived, this ancient city had been the virtual preserve of the British, led by their chief archaeologist Flinders Petrie, who conducted major excavations in 1891 and 1892. They opened tombs, discovered magnificent wall paintings, and uncovered palace foundations. However, they had never encountered anything remotely resembling the magnificent bust of Nefertiti. When Borchardt's mission arrived, the British mocked them, convinced the Germans would find absolutely nothing. After all, Petrie had already searched everything, right? Well, as we know now, they were spectacularly wrong. At the beginning of the 20th century, Egypt was the world's greatest hunting ground for archaeologists. Prussia was late in the race for treasures, and Kaiser Wilhelm ordered Borchardt to return with a trophy, whatever the cost, through extraordinary luck, or was it really luck? Borchardt discovered the offices and house of the sculptor Thutmose, one of the most remarkable finds of his excavations. This was the personal sculptor of Akhenaten and Nefertiti himself. According to Borchardt's notes, on December 6, 1912, surrounded by his team, he made an unforgettable discovery. The famous limestone bust of Nefertiti was found just 50 centimeters below some gravel. He had brought back to life a remarkably realistic and colorful model of a queen. But here's the million-dollar question that will absolutely shock you. How did this masterpiece survive in such perfect condition for over 3,000 years? Now let's examine the evidence that made historians suspicious. Pay close attention, because what we're about to reveal is absolutely mind-blowing. First major clue. The statue was completely asymmetrical and bore no resemblance to any other bust from 3,300 years ago ever discovered in Egypt. To historian Henri Stierlin, Nefertiti's bust was preserved so perfectly, or as he puts it, so suspiciously new, that it seemed almost impossible to believe. Second major clue. And here's the most intriguing evidence that will blow your mind. A second bust was found right beside Nefertiti's, a bust of her husband, Pharaoh Akhenaten. But get this, while Nefertiti's bust was in pristine, flawless condition, Akhenaten's bust was completely mutilated and destroyed. Think about this logically, fellow mystery solvers. Why would there be such a dramatic contrast in the condition of these busts that were found at the same time in the exact same location? This is the question that launched one of archaeology's greatest investigations. What makes this controversy even more fascinating is the response from the archaeological community. In Montpellier, down in southern France, archaeologist and Egyptologist Marc Gabold, who's also a leading expert on Nefertiti, carefully considered Stierlin's claims. Here's what this renowned expert had to say. I must admit, he was right to raise the question, but the arguments he presented aren't necessarily sufficient. If he could provide me with some strong scientific arguments proving this was a forgery, I would accept it. But here's where the story becomes even more mysterious. Ancient seekers. There are definitely doubts floating around the archaeological community, but incredibly no expert has dared to officially declare their suspicions publicly. In the basement of Berlin's Neues museum, when a press conference was held with journalists taking notes, there were amazingly no questions about the authenticity charges. Why? Because in Germany, such accusations are considered absolutely taboo. This bust, discovered over a century ago, has become a national symbol. When the museum director, Friederike Seyfried, was asked about the authenticity question, here's her incredible response. When you stand before the bust, this question never crosses your mind. It's unnecessary to say that it's authentic. The real question is, why would it be fake? Many archaeologists, Americans, Italians, French, have expressed their doubts privately about whether the bust is genuine, but none have officially declared their suspicions. Everyone is extremely cautious. No one has dared to openly question this iconic object. But why? What are they so afraid of? To get to the bottom of this mystery, investigators returned after a century to follow in the footsteps of archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt, Tel el-Amarna is located 5 hours by car south of Cairo, the abandoned city of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Joining the investigation team was Ludwig Borchardt, an expert in ancient Egyptian artwork employed by courts to identify forged pieces, and Imad, an Egyptian archaeologist and general inspector of excavations at Tel el-Amarna. Using Borchardt's precise excavation notes and drawings, where he wrote extensively about his discovery in 1912, they traced the exact location where the Nefertiti statue was supposedly discovered, the house of Thutmose, the chief sculptor. So here we are, fellow time travelers, at the end of our incredible journey into one of archaeology's most controversial mysteries, the bust of Nefertiti, authentic ancient masterpiece or brilliant modern forgery. The evidence is puzzling. A perfectly preserved statue next to a destroyed one. British archaeologists who found nothing where Germans found the treasure of the century. A suspicious lack of similar artifacts from the same period. And most intriguing of all, a wall of silence from the archaeological establishment. What do you think, ancient mystery hunters? Is the famous bust of Nefertiti truly 3,300 years old, or is it the greatest archaeological hoax ever perpetrated? Share your theories in the comments below. I can't wait to hear what you discover. And remember, in the next episode of Secrets of the Ancients, we'll be traveling to another lost civilization to uncover mysteries that have been buried for millennia. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop seeking the truth hidden in the sands of time. This is Secrets of the Ancients, where every stone has a story, and every